Another season of mediocrity is in the books. Defined by inconsistent play, front office indecision, injuries, and now contract drama, Chicago has been stuck between building a team and contending for far too long, and this year is the time to make the decision. There is a way out, and there is a way that leads to success. Welcome to 30 Teams in 30 Days, and today we are breaking down the Chicago Bulls. Let's get into it. I want to start off by talking about this team's backcourt because a backcourt of Josh Giddey and Coby White is one of the most talented backcourts in the entire NBA. Josh Giddey absolutely exploded after the All-Star break. He averaged 21 points, 9 rebounds, and 10 assists on 50, 46, 80 shooting splits. He was a different player. He was more confident. He was more efficient. He looked more comfortable out in the court and out in Chicago. At that same time, Coby White put up 25, 4, and 4 on very good efficiency. This was a good Chicago team after the All-Star break that just didn't make it into the playoffs. But right now, there are its issues and drama. Currently, Josh Giddey is a restricted free agent, meaning if a team offers him a contract, the Bulls can match it. Nobody's offered a contract yet, and right now Josh Giddey is looking for a Jalen Suggs-like contract that's seeing $30 million per year. Chicago doesn't want to overpay or bid against themselves, which is fair because they did the same thing with Patrick Williams and that has been burning them. If no deal gets done, Josh Giddey takes a qualifying offer and he returns to the Windy City next year, so we're definitely going to see him in the red and black. But we are also risking not seeing a long-term commitment for him, and if he continues his breakout season into the next year, that could pose a huge risk for the Bulls. Coby White currently has one more year left on his contract, and he has one of the best contracts in the NBA when you look at the value standpoint. At the moment, he's eligible to earn around $22 million per year for 4 years. However, he is a better player than $22 million per year. If he waits until next year's free agency where he will be an unrestricted free agent, he's eligible for up to $40 million. He's not worth that, but he may still get it just with how NBA contracts are. So the Bulls currently have a dilemma, a fork in the road. They have two really good young players, both of which want to get paid and both of which can affect the future. If you go with both of them, it probably won't work out. White and Giddey may not be the most effective guard duo in the league, and it just overall hurts their flexibility from a financial standpoint, something they've had this issue with before. If I'm the Chicago front office, I bite the bullet on Josh Giddey. I think he's one of the best players they have had from a potential standpoint at this age, probably since Jimmy Butler. He's a guy that I think you can truly build a team around if he continues up this efficiency. He's 6'8", he is a good point guard, he's a good rebounder, he's a good playmaker, and even though he didn't come into the league with a jump shot, he now shot 38% from 3 for last season. He's not a lockdown defender, but they traded Josh Giddey just for Alex Caruso. While we all thought this was a steal at the time, it may be turning out that the Thunder gave up this player and he turned into a star. Probably wouldn't become a star in Chicago, but he became a star nonetheless. We're talking a 23-year-old who basically averaged a triple-double following the All-Star break and led the Chicago Bulls to success. You need to sign that guy, even if it's for $30 million a year. With Coby White, you want to be a little more cautious. He's not bad. He is a great player, and he is the scorer that Chicago thought he would become. 25, 4, and 4 does not happen on accident. Coby White is also similar to another Bull named Zach LaVine. We all know the issues the Bulls had trying to get rid of Zach LaVine, both of which are great scoring shooting guards who aren't big enough to be a wing, they aren't good enough playmakers to be a point guard, and they can't defend that well. All they can really do is score at a very high level. The other reason why I'm cautious with White is because a guy named Ayo Dosunmu exists. Ayo is one of the best point of attack defenders in the league. He plays hard, he gives Chicago that defensive identity, and I think he's someone who, if he grows as a shooter, could be great to go next to Josh Giddey, even if he just develops a little bit from 3. But Dosunmu is the guy you want as your number 2 guard, someone who isn't as ball dominant as Coby White. Unless Coby White takes a discount, I think the Chicago Bulls seriously have to consider trading him. With what I mentioned earlier, his contract situation is sticky. A team can't offer more than 140% of a player's current salary, so White stands best to go to free agency to make the amount of money that he thinks he deserves. Chicago needs to look into trading him, possibly for getting a few first rounders or a young player in return. Will that happen? I don't know, but I think that needs to be one of their #1 priorities for next season. Fits could be a team like Orlando who needs that perimeter scoring. Indiana and New Orleans have also been linked to him. Dallas could also be looking for a guard this season, depending on how well D'Angelo Russell does until Kyrie Irving gets back. Coby White is a good, possibly even great player if he continues into next season, but he is a ball-dominant guard who can't defend and can't really play make at a super high level. You can't put him next to Josh Giddey, especially for up to $40 million in a year. That's how you get stuck in the same situation they did with Zach LaVine, and with how this Bulls front office has been, I honestly wouldn't be surprised if they make that same mistake again. So if it comes down to having your #2 guard being Ayo Dosunmu versus Coby White, I'm taking Ayo probably 9 times out of 10, assuming he has a good season next year. But let's talk about Nikola Vucevic, as he is another one of this team's key players and assets. He averaged an efficient 19 points, 10 rebounds with a PER of 20. He was still one of the best centers in the league, especially from a shooting standpoint. This season, he has 1 year left on his deal, and he's making $21 million, and he is about 35 years old at the end of next season. He's a good player, but he just doesn't fit the Bulls' timeline. Really, you don't want to let a good player walk for nothing. He's someone that I expect will be in trade talks, if not this offseason, then definitely around the deadline, because I'm sure there could be a contender that uses him. Possible for Chicago to get a young player, or definitely a pick in return for Vucevic, and I think that's something they need to do if it happens. I think Vucevic could work well in a lot of places. Golden State has yet to make a serious move this offseason, and I think he could be great for the Warriors with his scoring and rebounding. Orlando could use more shooting. Maybe Phoenix wants to pull a trigger. New Orleans has not really been having a good year, so maybe they want to do something. Maybe Minnesota wants to decide to move on from Rudy Gobert. He's willing to give you a pick or a player in his return. I think that's something you need to pull the trigger on. Let's talk about 2 under-the-radar players that I think Chicago Bulls fans should be really excited about. That's Isaac Okoro and Noah Essengue. First, let's talk about Okoro. He's one of the best 3-and-D players in the league, and he is another really good point-of-attack player. They traded him in a straight swap for Lonzo Ball, and I really like this move for Chicago. Okoro's younger, and even though he didn't play a lot of games last year, he has a history of being healthier. Okoro is only 6'5". He plays bigger than he is. He's another good point-of-attack defender that will fit really well with Ayo Dosunmu. Adding in Josh Giddey, you still get that size that you want out of a 1-2-3, and Giddey's a good rebounder. The Bulls were 3rd in made threes last year, but they were 18th in defense. Moves like these might hurt your spacing, but it will make them a much better defensive team, and defense is what builds cultures. All the risks that come from tanking and how that can destroy a team culture, but guys like Dosunmu and guys like Okoro bring you that accountability, they bring you that hard-nosed defense, and they bring you the kind of things that you want mentally that transfer into offense and transfer into winning. And then there's Noah Essengue, Chicago's first-round pick, who I think can fit perfectly alongside these guys. Essengue is a long, athletic forward coming out of the German Bundesliga league. He's been playing professionally since 2021, but he's going to be just 19 years old at the end of this NBA season. He's a guy who has some of the most upside in this whole draft. He's a great defender, he's a team-first mentality player, and he has a ton of potential as an interior finisher and ball handler. He really is a guy that's one of the hardest players in this class to judge. If he develops a bit more of a jump shot, I could see him being a guy like Nicolas Batum, even though some people see him being as good as Giannis. I don't think he's up to Giannis potential, but I do think he could potentially become a star at his ceiling. If he becomes at least just a key rotational player or starter, a guy who can score at a decent level and a guy who can defend multiple players, that is a huge win for a mid-teens pick. Most players not drafted in the lottery don't become stars. Most players don't even make it into like their 2nd or 3rd NBA contract. So if Essengue can do that, something I think he has the potential to do, that is a win for Chicago. Realistically, I think he could be a glue guide with some upside, and I think he can kind of get that bad Patrick Williams taste away from Bulls fans. Imagine a defense with a prime Dosunmu, Okoro, and Essengue. You put that on Josh Giddey, and then Giddey probably isn't as bad of a defender. All you really need is a good center to go with it. And right now, Jalen Smith is a backup center, and I think he still has a ton of potential, and that's coming from a Phoenix Suns fan. Chicago is just at a fork in the road, something they've been at many times before, but they can't make another mistake this offseason. All of this only works if Chicago makes a move now. This is the offseason that they can decide to move in the right direction. They need to stop trying to thread the needle, they need to stop trying to fit in the middle, and they need to start moving to a true rebuild. That doesn't mean they have to throw away all their assets, that doesn't mean they have to purposely tank. They need to give the right guys minutes and try to get assets out of the players they can get. Chicago's not going to be winning this next season, but they can't just be sitting there constantly being around the 8th through 10th seed, just not going anywhere. Chicago is not one key piece away from contending, but they are a few good moves away from having one of the better rebuilds in the NBA today. This was 30 and 30. If you liked the video, you know what to do, and that is it for this one, and I will catch you all later.